You hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Good morning to you.
How
Coach,
are you?
good. We'll get you started off this morning. If you could just, make a few opening comments on this year's, opening recruiting class here, and
Well,
as
it was,
we
yeah, sure. It's a different kind of morning. We're all kind of spread out and it's all done virtually now. And, computers, you're not sitting by the fax machine waiting for faxes to come in anymore. And we were done rather quickly. Everyone's kind of set up to sign. I think the young men that are joining the program were excited to sign. And, it has the makings of a good class, and we'll certainly see as we go how it works out. But I think we added some potentially really good players, and we're excited about it. And recruiting's so different now because there's an early signing period, and then we have another signing period in February, and in between that we have this thing called the transfer portal, which is an absolute monster, and it's wild. So there's really no definitive end anymore, and it makes it a little bit more hectic, probably a little more exciting for everybody, and a lot more fluid. But we added what we think are some really fine young men that have a chance to be good players for us.
Coach, before we take questions, just maybe some quick thoughts. Last year you were able to when you took over as head coach, you were with the program before the season ended and had that into recruiting for last year, and now you've had over a year. Obviously, what maybe were the differences between this year versus kind of last year?
Well, I think the most important difference was the relationships that our staff and myself were able to build with these young men and their families before signing. Last year, it was just a rush. This year, it was a process that, covered the full year, because a lot of these guys we've been in touch with since I came to Connecticut and our staff came to Connecticut. So, there's a lot more comfort, and I think we know probably a little bit more about, well, not probably, we absolutely know a lot more about these guys than the men we were taking last year. And that's a big difference, because that familiarity really helps. You're more secure in your decision that they're going to fit into your program and fit into your culture and be the type of young men that we want on our campus. And it's just, you feel more invested in them. And I think it's a real positive. And that's one of the values of recruiting high school athletes, as opposed to the portal, where sometimes, that first impression maybe isn't as accurate as the impression that you get over the course of time.
Okay, thanks. All right, folks, for questions, just raise your hand. We're going to start off with Joe Zone from Channel 3.
Good morning. Coach, were there some kids you think who jumped on board after the may have jumped on after the success you had during the season? They really saw which way the program was moving.
You know what? Most of these guys committed before the season, and that's a tribute to them. That they saw our vision, and then watched the progression of it. And certainly we're not there yet. But the only really, I'm looking at the list here, and the only player that really was a late ad was Umar and Diamande, and he's from the Bronx. He's a linebacker, and he came in the weekend before we went to Myrtle Beach, and we'd had a relationship with him, and he committed. So other than that, all these guys, I'm looking at the list, and all these guys were, they were committed pretty early. So we appreciate them having the faith in us.
Thanks, Coach.
Go over to Joe from Hartford Current.
Hey, Coach. A lot of these guys, a lot of this season was about, the culture, and you just mentioned it. What were you looking for when you were recruiting these guys to see if they would fit into that?
I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, everyone wants good football players. Certainly you do. But you want good football players that are good people, high character people that are accountable. that, are going to be selfless and put the team first, that are going to be good student athletes, are going to fit on our campus, are going to support their teammates. People that are competitive, not just on the football field, but in everything that they do. And then certainly, young men that are willing to do the work. And so I think one of the real values, Joe, in getting a chance to spend a whole year recruiting these guys is we have a real good feel for not just who they are as football players, but who they are as people. And, for us to have the sustained success that we're trying to have and build the way we're trying to build and become what we want to certainly become eventually, it's really important to have the right people in the program. And so we feel really good about these young men.
Okay, we'll go over to Luke.
Coach, with a full recruiting cycle under your belt now, as head coach, how are you finding the balance between the transfer portal and getting these freshmen in? Is it complicating things a little bit?
Yes, but it's okay. It's not a problem. It's certainly a challenge just because of numbers, and then certainty of who's going to stay on your team as well. Everything's just changed so dramatically in the last couple of years, and certainly for me in the last year. This is a rather light class, and I think you're going to see that probably around the country a little bit. I don't know that for sure, but it's my hunch because of the portal. And we're a young football team still, and it's important for us not only to add young players through recruiting, but also have veteran players through the portal that can help us immediately. So it's trying to find that perfect blend of guys with experience that are going to fit into your program, and these young guys you can develop. I've always kind of equated it to the draft versus free agency, and smaller numbers obviously, but in the NFL you want to build through the draft. You want guys that come in as rookies and spend most of their career with you, but you always need to supplement through free agency when you have areas of need on your team. And so for us, we want to build our team through recruiting high school athletes, because we get to know them better before they become part of our program, and we'll make fewer mistakes that way. But we always have to be able to supplement through I almost said through free agency, through the portal.
Kevin from New England Hockey Journal. Go ahead, Kevin.
Hockey?
Hey, Coach, how you doing?
Or sorry, New England football.
There we
good.
go. I thought we were going to talk a little hockey today.
No, good.
All right.
No. Coach, you've obviously been in draft rooms and stuff like that over the years. Has today kind of grown into something somewhat similar, where guys have maybe a giant board up and, it's a room full of people just kind of having conversations all day? Or is all this, like you mentioned earlier, kind of taken care of before today?
It's really all taken care of before today. Now we gathered via Zoom because everyone's kind of spread out right now doing different things after the bowl and preparing for Christmas. But we were all up this morning on a group Zoom, in our little meeting room. And as the emails came in confirming the players, and we were able to reach out to them and, congratulate them. And but it wasn't like the draft, because in the draft you're sitting around waiting, for your pick and watching guys come off the board. And at this point everyone's kind of locked in. So I wouldn't say it's anticlimactic. It's exciting, but it's probably not as dramatic as the draft is.
Okay, anything else for Coach this morning? Go ahead. Did you have another one, Kevin?
Yeah, Coach, just
Yep.
one more. Obviously these past 2 or 3 weeks, you guys are very focused on the bowl game. Did you kind of have just a separate team, working on this, or did you just kind of find time to balance everything?
You have to find the time to balance staying in touch with the high school players that signed today and working on guys that are in the portal, and then getting ready for a football game, continuing to recruit 2024s. It just really never stops. It's a cycle that just never stops. and you just, it's your job and you make time for it. But fortunately, we had really good relationships with these guys and felt very good about all of them signing. And we didn't lose anyone we wanted to lose. And it's a good morning. But it's really interesting because as soon as this was done, I mean, the second that we got done with this, you start watching next year's guys, or I was watching portal guys kind of while these guys were coming in, actually. So it's just very different than what it used to be like. And it's it's a challenge, but it's fun.
Okay, well, seeing no other questions, Coach, we'll let you get to it. Appreciate a few
All right.
minutes of your time, or especially early this morning for you.
No, it's good. I've been up for, you guys have a great day. Hey, happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you, Coach.
All
Enjoy.
right, see you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.